But of course, from sea to shining sea and from coast to coast, we have an audience, and around the world. Hey, let me give a shout out to our listeners, our friends in Israel. I do this quite often. I don't have to do it every single week, but listen, we've got a huge audience that stays up late over there because in Israel it's close. I guess 11 o'clock at night, maybe midnight. It depends upon the hours and time zones and daylight savings in America and all that, but 7 to 8 hours away. And but we've got a huge audience over there, and we appreciate it. And I do want to give a shout out. I've got a great friend and a brother in the Lord over there, Zev Parat, Messiah of Israel Ministries. He and I have been partnering up in ministry for a long time, and he and his precious wife, Lynn, they are dear friends of mine. And I know a lot of our listeners come through his ministry, his discipling, his outreach all over the nation of Israel. So good shout out to him. You can find Zev and all of his ministries at messiahofisraelministries.org or zevparatministries.com. So check him out at those places. Hello, Zev Parat, Messianic Rabbi Zev Parat, and all of our other brothers and sisters and friends and family from Israel. Now, again, coast to coast and around the world, we have listeners. And a lot of folks also listen by podcast and or listen live and then get the podcast and use them later. I'm just, you probably know this. We've been having difficulty for the last several weeks because the website at WEBY had been hacked and attacked, and particularly the podcast page, because we've been hitting close to home. And anyway, so we've put all the experts, the IT experts on it. We finally got it corrected and squared away, but we have moved the podcast to a much more secure location. Now, the 1330weby.com webpage is a great website, and it is secure, and we keep it squared away. But this last attack was pretty tough. But anyway, if you want to get the podcast now, you can go to the PNN network. The easiest way to do it is go to carlgallups.com. In the top right-hand corner, click podcast, and the link has been changed to the new secure location. But we have backlinks to both places, so if you wind up on the WEBY page, there's a link at the top that takes you right to the brand new link. Okay? I think you've got that. Anyway, I want to give my next guest the most time that I can possibly give him, so we're going to go right to the phone lines. I've got so much more to tell you. We've got great guests coming up. We've got a great show for you. Don't go anywhere. Come into the Oval Office, kick off your shoes, sit down, relax, get a cup of coffee or something, because this is going to be an amazing show. My first guest, his name is Tom Horn. He's a longtime television and radio personality. He's an author. He's a publisher. He serves as the chief executive officer of Skywatch Television, Skywatch TV. You can find him at skywatch.com. In the early days of the Internet, Tom Horn launched 2 new services that covered the latest breaking news and information on cutting-edge stories, covering religion and discovery and the supernatural through in-depth investigation and reports. And so in the meantime, he has been all over the media through the years because of his writing, his reporting, his television programs, and that media includes Coast to Coast AM, George Norrie, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, Fox, Time, New York Times, Los Angeles Times, Chicago Tribune, Miami Herald, on and on and on, even the BBC, MSNBC, Michael Savage, History Channel, Hannity and Combs, it goes on and on. The Jim Baker Show, WND, Newsmax, I mean, he's there. I count Tom Horn to be a dear friend of mine. I've had the pleasure of being on his television show for several episodes up in Springfield, Missouri. And all the folks there at Skywatch TV, if any of you happen to be listening today to the boss man, that is Tom Horn, God bless you, and thank you for your courtesy whenever I'm up there. I've been in his studio. I've been in his home. I've eaten meals with him. We enjoy a great fellowship and friendship. He's a great man of God and a wonderful friend. I'm so glad that you're with us today, Tom. We're going to have a good time with this.
Hey, Carl, just wish we could have even more time, but yeah, great to be with you, and we plan to have you back on Skywatch TV again here as soon as we possibly can, but thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, yeah, no, it's my honor, and look, I will look forward to coming back up to Springfield. First of all, I love the area. I love your studio, and the folks there are amazing, and I love your television show as well. Tell folks what you were telling me, if you can do that, about all of the expansion of your television show in the networks. Are you free to say that yet?
Yeah, we've signed a contract. We're going, actually, within the next 2 weeks, Skywatch TV will be going on the Crossroads Network, network, which will put us on a lot more, not just cable television, but a lot of local television stations and affiliates across the United States. And then we're also going on the Victory Television Network, which is mostly the Midwest. But, and then after that, the Church Channel, TBN, Daystar. God is opening magnificent doors for us, just like He is for you. And we'll have you back on as we're expanding onto those other networks. I know you have other books that you're working on, and we're definitely going to want to talk to you about everything that you're doing. And so, Carl, you know, and some of your audience would know, that I had intended to retire. When I moved to Missouri, I was actually done with institutionalized Christianity. I had been an executive in the largest evangelical organization in the world for many, many years. I was kind of tired. I was ready to retire. And thank God, God had other plans, right?
Right.
And
you're not going to retire, brother. You're going to stay here till we're raptured out.
That's it. We're just going to work until it's done, and that's it.
That's it. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep advancing the kingdom of God until the Lord is done with us, right?
Absolutely right.
Absolutely. Hey, Tom. Well, anyway, listen, and thank you for the kind words you said about me and my ministry. But this segment is about you, your ministry, and particularly this new documentary that you guys have produced that is absolutely astounding. It's called Inhuman. The next and final phase of man is here. Now, people, listen to me, and I'm going to let Tom do all the talking, but I gotta tell you, that title, I mean, it almost makes it sound like it's some kind of science fiction. Yeah. This is not science fiction. Tom, tell us about this documentary, Inhuman. Tell us what it's about, how you got started on it.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound sci-fi, and in fact, if you look at the cover with the Borg-like looking woman, it looks sci-fi. But how did we get there? What's the prophecy guy doing talking about this? Some years ago, at the dawn of the internet, I was actually a writer. I was doing some writing for one of the largest newspapers out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And by the way, of all things, on the subject of Halloween. And the internet was brand new, and I was on there trying to do some research, and I came across a term called transgenics. Transgenics. Mm-hmm. Well, I had never seen that word before, but I could kind of get it, right? Transgenics.
Right.
We're somehow here talking about crossing over species barriers, combining one kind of being with another being genetically to create something brand new. Mm-hmm. Well, as a Christian and as a believer in what's called the divine order, meaning that I believe that God created everything and that He put barriers between the species and ordered that each kind reproduce only after its own kind.
Exactly.
This idea that we as men now, we're going to play God. We're going to cross over these barriers. We're going to combine human genetic material with animal genetic material. We're going to create chimeras for research purposes and other purposes, and maybe even eventually super soldier technology. This was really concerning to me. And so what I did was, being naive, I went out there and I wrote some articles sharing my concerns, not just from a biblical point of view, but saying, what if new disease strains might cross over from the animal kingdom to humans, something that neither God nor evolution allowed for. Right. This could become a new Black Death. And so I was just basically out there thinking out loud, right?
Right.
Well, man, all of a sudden, the leading transhumanists in the world, people like Max Moore, who is considered to be the father of modern transhumanism, and anybody out there in the transhumanist circles would know that name, Max Moore. By the way, somebody listening to this show that does not know what I mean when I use the term transhumanism or transhumanists, these are people who believe that we are going to use emerging fields of technology now, including genetics, to alter the human race to take us into the next step in our evolution. So we're going to modify ourselves genetically. We're going to brain-machine interface ourselves. And, Carl, you probably saw where DARPA now is investing literally tens of millions of dollars into Borg-like technology, where we're going to create brain chips that will interface humans with artificial intelligence systems. But transhumanists believe that that's the kind of technology, genetics, robotics, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, synthetic biology, neuropharmacology. We're going to use these to modify humans to take us into the next step in our evolution.
And let me just plug in right here. Because, Tom, I know I've researched this to the nth degree. In fact, some of this and you are going in my next book in the fall. And so I know exactly what you're talking about, but I know that my hair stood straight up back in, months ago when I was investigating this. So some of our listeners, this is the first time they've ever heard it. I want to assure them, and then you say whatever you need to say to correct me or bolster what I'm saying, that everything you're talking about, this is not science fiction, folks. This is not crazy conspiracy talk. This technology exists. They're already working with it. In China, they've already crossed some species genetically. People are doing this. They've got plans. There are agenda set. This stuff is coming from the scientific and medical community and even governing bodies around the world. Am I right, Tom?
Oh, well, not just that. Look. People can go and Google this. They can look this up for themselves, verify what we're talking about. Just look up what's called EHOs, Enhanced Human Operations, and see where the Pentagon, now this was from the Pentagon's own website, where they were talking just about 3 weeks ago, saying that, and I can't even use the language because it's profanity, it scared the bleep out of them.
No.
And they were talking specifically about what Russia and China are doing right now in what's called Enhanced Human Operations, EHOs, which includes the genetic modification, the genetic improvement of humans for battlefield applications, and what our own Pentagon was talking about. And by the way, as you know, Carl, I'm really good friends with Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis, who's been on your program before. Mm-hmm. He's a senior analyst at the Pentagon, so some of my information stream runs directly into the Pentagon.
Right.
But the Pentagon made this public knowledge in which they said that they're very concerned, and not just concerned, they're afraid of what is happening right now in China and in Russia in terms of EHOs, Enhanced Human Operations, where they are probably right now.
All right, now stop right there, because we've got to take a time out. That's a good place to stop. And let me just say, so they're already doing it in China and Russia. Nothing prophetic about that. And they're manipulating genetics and human beings and species. Nothing end-time prophecy about that. And China and Russia just happen to be in the Middle East together for the first time in global history, militarily cooperating with each other and with Iran for the first time in global history, right on the northern border of Israel. Nothing prophetic about that. What times do you think we live in, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so Gog, Magog.
Yes, what I'm saying.
The armies of the east.
That's what I'm saying. They're there.
Together. Biblical history, of course, has identified, I always refer to it as Iran-Mageddon, and I take heed from that.
Right.
But that these will be the powers that will come together to initiate Armageddon in the end times. And the armies of Armageddon in the book of Revelation are described in ways that almost make you think that they are inhuman.
I know. We're going to talk about that. Hey, when we come back, I want you to tell our audience about this kit as well, this DNA kit, okay?
All right,
good deal. Folks, you're listening to Freedom Friday. Carl Gallups here in the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio, from sea to shining sea. We'll be back after this time out. My guest this afternoon, Tom Horn, the CEO and chief and host of Skywatch TV. Tom, welcome back to the show. Listen, we were talking about your brand new documentary, Inhuman, The Next and Final Phase of Man is Here. We've been talking about transhumanism, genetic manipulation, all of the technologies in place. It's happening. They're doing it in China, Russia. Our own government knows about it, and a lot of people that are in the government that know this, they're very trepidatious concerning this whole matter of transhumanism. Other government agencies, the top dark secret ones, are actually working on it themselves. It's kind of like the old nuclear race where, everybody around the world was trying to develop the nuclear bomb, and the U.S. came out on top, and we were able to use it to stop World War II. But now we've got a whole new race for technology, and we're kind of behind the curve, I think. But tell us about the kit, and you can correct anything I just said as well.
Carl, the Jasons, if people want to look up the JASONS, that is the leading and the most top secret intelligentsia think tank that provides, policy information to the Department of Defense, the Pentagon. The Jasons have produced several papers. white papers in the last 24 months in which they have said to the Department of Defense, the Pentagon, and DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, our own Congress essentially, they've said you have to get ahead of this technology now. EHO, especially they say, as it involves the genetic modification of humans for battlefield applications, they say you have to get ahead of this technology, because if you don't, you risk, and these are their words, you risk falling irreparably behind. Wow. The Jasons are telling right now the Department of Defense in the United States that this is the next arms race, in the same way that the old Soviet Union competed with the United States during what's now called the Cold War for nuclear supremacy. In the same way, getting ahead of enhanced human operations, enhanced humans genetically and otherwise, is the next arms race. So the DARPA, this year, the presidentially approved DARPA budget has literally tens of millions of dollars in it for two things. One, creating BMIs, brain-machine interfaced humans, chips that will be implanted in human brains to connect battlefield operatives with artificial intelligence systems. That's one. Secondly, though, to create a blueprint for the genetic modification, the genetic improvement of our soldiers in future battlefield applications. So this is actually, according to the Jasons, this is the next arms race.
Yeah.
Now, go to the Brookings Institute, the number one policy think tank in the world, the number one policy think tank to the United States government, and look at the articles that they're writing right now called The Future of the Constitution series. Read articles number 9 and articles number 10, where the number one policy think tank in the world is saying that future genetically engineered humans need us now to modify the Constitution and the Bill of Rights to extend to them human responsibilities and human rights, because otherwise they won't even be included in our Constitution, because they are human non-humans. They are beyond the scope of the original constitutional writings that considered humans as we understand them, made in the image of God. So this train has left the building.
Yeah,
and people had better very quickly get their mind wrapped around it. Now, you asked me about a kit.
Yeah.
CRISPR-Cas9. CRISPR, go to Google, type in CRISPR. This is
spell CRISPR. By the way, this is in my new book too. Go ahead.
Yeah, CRISPR. Now, CRISPR-Cas9, Cas9, is the one that they will read the most about right now. Right. But there are other Cas systems that are coming along, technologies. But CRISPR is the one to keep your eyes on. Now, why is this important? Well, because CRISPR is a very new, very powerful, and very accurate way of making modifications to human DNA. Basically, in a nutshell, you can watch videos on it. If you watch our video, Inhuman, you'll see CRISPR illustrated exactly how it works, how they use it to go in and basically cut and paste. You can cut into human DNA or gene lines. You can knock out certain genes. You can repair genes. You can put in brand new synthetic genetic information that can be written into the human genetic code. And why this is important is because you can use this technology for what's called germline genetic modifications. These are modifications that you can make to human DNA that then will be extended downline to all humans who are born to that particular species. One more thing. What that means is you could change all humans in the future by using CRISPR-Cas9 technology. One more thing. Tom Horn has in his possession a gene knockout kit, a CRISPR-Cas9 gene knockout kit, and I've taken it with me onto a couple of television shows that I've done recently. Why am I making that a point? Because if Tom Horn can get his hands on a CRISPR-Cas9 technology, then you better believe that terrorists and others could get their hands on CRISPR-Cas9 technology. And why is that important? Because another thing that people need to Google is called gene drive. Gene drive. What does gene drive mean? Think of it this way. You can use gene drive and CRISPR-Cas9 technology to drive out of existence a previous version of a living species and to drive into existence a new replacement form of a particular species, and that includes humans.
Tom, that is absolutely astounding.